Hi everyone, today's video is going to be about mental health. So over on channel Mum, where I'm a vlogger for them as well, we have been talking about being a parent, being a mum, and the mental health stuff that can bring up, or living with mental health problems anyway, and then becoming a parent, and just what that can bring about. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and my personal story with mental health and just my thoughts on it, because I think the more we talk about it, the easier it is for people. So my journey with mental health, my husband had depression when we had our first daughter. Subsequently found out that he had a brain tumour, so there was a reason for it, but whatever the reason for it, the symptoms of having depression were the same. He just had something that was kind of pushing on his brain and making it happen. But we felt it when we had our first daughter, probably about 6 months in. He was finding it really, really difficult to adapt to the fast-paced change, and he really struggled with his mental health, and it was a daily conversation. Thankfully, I get it, and I was able to talk through things with him. But as a new parent myself, it wasn't always easy. You know, we had many trips to the doctors and trying to work it out, and, you know, lots and lots of reading things and trying to see how we could make it easier. And he had, you know, we had the crisis line on speed dial, and it was quite difficult at times. And one of the main things that I used to do with Ross, and once he was better, and he did get better from the depression, he always said that was something, the things that I did with him were things that got him through it. And he really was in a bad place at one point where he was talking about suicide. And that is not something that you ever want to hear anybody that you love talking about. And it's not even necessarily something that I've shared before publicly. I was actually, a moment when I knew it was particularly bad was when I was filming Casualty the last time, and I was doing some really hard scenes where I had been raped, and it was a really emotional stuff. And I actually find those episodes hard to watch because those tears were real, because they were based on what was actually happening at home. So Ross had the girls at home, Texie was a baby, Brooke was very little, and he phoned me before doing some of the scenes, and he said, you know, he was really bad, and I think he'd phoned his mum to take the girls, and that he said that he'd had to wake Brooke up in the middle of the night just to talk to her, because he was concerned that he was going to do something to himself. And that was really hard for me to hear. Firstly, I wasn't at home, so that was tough anyway. And so when I see those scenes back now, it's actually quite hard to watch because I know that they were real tears, although they were portraying a different thing. And that time was really hard. And what I did with Ross, every day I would force him to say to me, force sounds hard, but I would say to him, tell me what you're thinking. And we've always a very open couple, but I would say, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me, I don't care how bad it is. I don't care what horrible thoughts you're having. I need you to say it out loud. And so he would sometimes tell me stuff that was not nice to hear, you know, thoughts of suicide or ending it, or, you know, running away or whatever it was. But I made him talk about it because it wasn't festering inside. And I also never ever judged him about where he was at. I never ever judged that he was in that place, and I always told him that this is not your fault, this is something that is going on, and we can work through it, and it won't be forever, and we will sort it, and we'll work together, and you just need to tell me where you're at. If you need to sleep, then you need to sleep. If you need help with something, you tell me. If you need to do nothing, if you need to talk endlessly, if you need to listen to music, if you need to go and spend time with your friends, you need to look after yourself, you need to do what you need to do. And during that time, you know, it was very difficult, but we worked through it. And Ross had some antidepressants for a time, which helped. He had some talking therapy, which didn't really help for Ross, some CBT stuff, but I think that was largely based on the fact Ross was autistic as well. So he was on the autistic spectrum. I think it just wasn't really suited to to his frame of mind. But the main thing was the lack of judgment, and he always said, the fact that you said it wasn't my fault, I was feeling like this, that it was an imbalance that I was having at that time, it took away like the guilt that he felt not being able to really perform to how he wanted to be performing, because he wasn't really amazing when Texas was born. In those initial stages, it was very difficult for him. Then about 2 years ago, I had a breakdown, and Ross returned the favour because he was amazing, and he did the same with me. You know, there was no judgment. There was, go and have a nap if you need to have a nap, you need to eat, you need to drink water. You know, he would just look after me, and he made sure that I was okay. And that breakdown was a build up for me. It was a build up of lots of, you know, years of things happening, probably putting far too much pressure on myself as a person, and eventually our bodies just go, enough. And for me, because I tend to be a pretty strong character, it will usually be my body that lets me know I'm doing too much. So mentally, I'm like, I gotta keep going. I can do this. But I will know that I have to slow down. And I'm way better at this, for those of you who worry and care and send me messages, than I've ever been. I know that the symptoms for me, when I know that I'm probably at my limit, are I start to get cold sores and ulcers. My skin usually flares up a little bit. I get a few spots around here. Lack of appetite, and that is a stress thing for me, which I've had over the last few weeks, understandably, with what's going on in my world. But I know that when that happens, I just got to go, okay, well, you got to look after yourself a little bit better in some way, and just keep an eye on that. And I just really feel that when we talk about this stuff and we recognize that being a mom, being a parent, is really, really hard. It's not an easy job. And when we recognize that that is the case and give ourselves a break, actually we can lessen the pressure, because the reality is all of us will feel we'll have some kind of mental issue at some point, in the same way we'll all get a cold. And I think when we just go, actually that is life, like it's part of life. Our brains are dealing with a lot all of the time, and there will be times when we're not getting it right. So I think before you delve into you having an issue and a problem and diagnosing yourself with something, just appreciate that it's a human experience and that we will all have it. There isn't a person, just because it may not have been diagnosed in some way, doesn't mean that you won't have mental health problems, because you probably will. And obviously if it is a deep-seated and it's a more complex problem, then without a doubt you do your thing and you seek help and you get diagnosis and things like that. But I think all of us will at some stage, especially as parents, because it's a lot going on, we will all feel that. So it's about taking the pressure off yourselves, and if you're around somebody or caring somebody who is going through it, just be supportive. Just sometimes you have to do nothing, sometimes you have to just be there. And appreciate that. Just sometimes for people, getting up in the morning and getting dressed is a big thing. And also remember that sometimes people get up, get dressed, look amazing, and they're still depressed. They might have all the money in the world, but you should never judge that, because it's about what's going on in here, not what you can see on the surface. So that is my thoughts on mental health, and I hope it helps, because we do need to talk about this stuff. These days, who cares? You got depression, you got anxiety. It's not as big a thing as it used to be. We just have to be supportive and loving towards each other, and then just help each other through. That's what it's about to me. And if you are going through something right now, then reach out, speak up, talk to those around you, and I wish you every success, and know that things change. You will get through this. It might not feel like it now. We just got to keep going. A Winston Churchill quote that I use a lot, and me and Ross always used, was, if you're going through hell, keep going. And our other quote was always, whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to get you to that next stage and move yourself forward. Good luck, and I will speak to you all soon.